Shalom Yasharallah, this your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here lesson, basically dealing with, hey, World War III is still on the on the table. This, amongst all these other prophecies and things like that, we still have, the rest of these prophecies boiling in the background. All right. So I'm going to briefly just cover two of these articles. I'm not really going to go too much into them, but we're going to jump into the scriptures after that. This here article says new American military base in Pacific will show how U.S.-China Cold War is heating up fast. All right. Now, give you a little backdrop on this scenario. All right. Well, you have basically there's some islands out here where out here in the South China Sea, all right, China decided to start building up some little barrier islands for multiple reasons. They got some oil out there, some resources and things like that, but also it's like a extended military base. So for instance, if you can imagine the reason why, and you going into superpowers and things like that, like with China, people talk about China's military and everything like that. China has like one aircraft carrier, which is brand new, So if they were to wage war, and their missiles can pretty much only reach, pretty far out, they can, hit all the Asian countries over there, more or less to say, but they don't really have anything to be able to launch off to hit America with, that far off, So for them to be able to wage war with America, they would have to bring their military all the way over to America to wage war. All right. Which means they would have to have aircraft carriers to launch their planes off and refuel and resupply and, all these different things. Whereas America, all right, which, America's the same distance away from China as China is away from America. But the difference is, same with Russia, just like with Russia, they would have to bring all their fleet over here to wage war on American soil. But for America, they got all these NATO bases right there on the border and everything like that. Like, for instance, if America wanted to wage war with China, I mean, they got a resupply base down there in South Korea, which South Korea borders North Korea, which North Korea borders China. All right. So giving them an extension, from their mainland and things like that. So, for instance, if America decided to bring their naval fleet over there or whatever, whatnot, they could at least start the fight out there in the, what they call the South China Sea and the Spratly Islands and things like that, and they can, before the American troops can get close over there. Right. But nevertheless, this here article says new American military base in Pacific will show how U.S.-China Cold War is heating up fast. All right. So while people think, the war is just, it builds up, dies down, and so on and so forth. All these things are things in the making. And, these prophecies have to take place. Certain prophecies have to take place first. We know that at the end all be all, World War III is going to be one of the very last prophecies to come to pass, because in the midst of World War III, all right, you're going to have the Lord come back with the angels and the chariots, all right, to take Esau out of power, and also to deliver the children of Israel once those nukes go off. All right. So we know that this prophecy still has to build up, but we have other prophecies like the RFID chip being the mark of the beast that has to be implemented first. All right. So reading a little bit of this here article, it says, let me see. Let me read this first paragraph. The tiny state of Palau has invited the U.S. to build a military base on its territory. It's a sign of how the Pacific is becoming strategically vital as countries choose to align with either Washington or Beijing. And so this is, like I was explaining, America has already long time ago started putting out their bases and NATO bases and all these other countries and everything like that surrounding their enemies, Whereas now these other nations are realizing, like Russia, that damn, we surrounded it. And if we wanted to go to war, we all boxed in. If we wanted to launch off missiles, like Russia could launch missiles from Russia all the way over to America. But as long as America has their, what do you call those? The Patriot system, the THAAD system, their missile defense systems right there on the border of Russia, they're more likely to shoot those missiles down out the sky before they can even leave Russia, which we know that ultimately that the Lord is going to allow these missiles, he's going to put his spirit in these missiles to touch down, and none of them are going to miss their marks. But nevertheless, jumping down, it says, this is the last paragraph right here. It says, let me read the last two. Don't let the size obscure the significance, though, for all these islands may seem irrelevant in the world of contemporary politics. They are, in fact, situated right in the heart of one of the world's emerging geopolitical struggles, the Cold War between the United States and China, which I was just explaining why they want to build these islands out here. Militarily, one of the reasons militarily where they want to build these islands out here, In the midst of growing tensions between Washington and Beijing, Palau could not be a more strategical important location. The Pacific Ocean is at large has already become a stage for military chess game between the two countries. The U.S. seeks to encircle China's uh, Piri, and Beijing aims for military partly in its own backyard. So basically, like I was just explaining, they just, pretty much jockeying for position, which you can see that the war is building up. Now, let me go and read just a little bit of this here other article, all right, which is the same thing, all right? And that was China. And this one here, now again, also in those islands, they are able to extract resources, all right, and energy and things like that, and sell it to the rest of the world. America, with their little conglomerate, are pretty much the number one suppliers around the world, whether it be through Saudi Arabia, or America. They got the the Iraqi oil and everything like that, But nevertheless, Russia, all right, is trying to sell oil to like Germany and things like that, and so on and so forth, because for one, for America to sell their oil all the way over there, for one, it takes a lot longer to get over there. And, if you try to ship something, the further it goes, the more it's going to cost you. All right. And if you know about the petrodollar, if you want to move, transport, refine, or anything with oil, you have to use the American dollar. So this is why you see these other nations dealing with resources and energy and things like that to try to cut America out of the situation. All right. Now, you have the Nord Stream 1 and the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. This is, part of the reason they was out there fighting in Syria, because these pipelines was going to go through Syria as well. But basically, let me read these top two paragraphs. It says, widening restrictions on the participants of the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline constitutes the egregious use of sanctioned weapons targeting both Russia and the U.S. loyal ally Germany. Former British MP George Galloway believes. Now, see, because America is fighting with Russia trying to stay for top position, all right, this is also turning out America's allies. You got Germany, which is part of NATO, all right? Now, they keep asking them to pay more than, reach that 2% of your GDP to pay it into NATO. And, Angela Merkel, like, we can't afford all of that, Y'all are already raping us on the prices of oil and everything else, and we always getting the bad end of the stick. So you also see that the beast is starting to hate the whore, and these are the reasons why. America's trying to put sanctions out there on these nations that's trying to deal with this here pipeline or whatever, whatnot. But these are their own allies, all right? But nevertheless, let's jump into some scriptures, just setting the backdrop as far as these things. World War III is still on the cups, all right? So let me read from verse 3, Matthew 24:3. And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, what shall these things be? Or when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? All right, now let's go down. Verse 6. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. All right, see, now they're talking about in these articles how war is heating up, the tension is heating up between these nations and so on and so forth. Why? Because this is what it's all leading to. All right. So it says, you should hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrow. So we know that we're winding down to the end by seeing all these things starting to build up. All right. So let's go from there to the book of. I want to touch in on how. And how World War III is basically going to be the end all be all, and if you have children or husbands or wives and daughters or whoever, whatnot in these militaries, man, they're not going to be coming back, man. You decide to go, because the economy's down, you want to go get that sign-on bonus or whatever, whatnot, man. You go out here in this military, you're not going to come back, all right? According to the scriptures, this is what the scriptures say, all right? So now let me start here at Joel 3:1, all right? It says, for behold, in those days, in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, all right, and this is what's going on now. You have Israel waking up. The nation is the elect of Israel is being prepared to be delivered, all right, about their captivity. So these are the times that we're living in. I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. And this is what you're starting to see, man. All right, since September 11th, all right, you started seeing basically, with America going in and invading Iraq, basically all the NATO counterparts was against that, but nevertheless, George Bush went over there anyway. And then what? They followed after, right? And they went over there, and they're still over there in all these different nations, And like, for instance, Germany, I believe mostly all the airstrikes that was done in was it either Syria or either Iraq, but I think it was Syria. It was pretty much all launched out of Germany, So they use these strategic locations from over there again. So if America wanted to go on a bombing mission, to go bomb Syria. They're not gonna send no planes from, an American mainland air base or how you call them things, Air Force base or whatever, whatnot. They're not gonna send planes all the way from over here to over there because it's gonna take them too long to get over there, wasting all that fuel, and they can only, with a certain amount of fuel and a certain amount of weapons, due to the weight of the plane, they're not gonna be able to make it over there just to shoot off a couple missiles and then have to fly all the way back. All right, so I believe wherever they was dropping those bombs, it was like only a 16-minute flight from Germany. They fly over there and then drop their bombs, fly back, refuel. They can go do this 3 or 4 times in a day. Says, I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, who they have scattered among the nations and part of my land. So ultimately going into what? World War III, these nations, all right, all these nations are being brought into the Middle East, all right, for what? The Lord's judgment, his final judgment, to bring out this judgment on these different nations for what they've done to the children of Israel, all right? They're not going to get away with these things, man. You start to see the Lord preparing all these people for their mass judgment, all right? Let me jump down. I'll read this first. Joel 3:9 says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men. So it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, these other nations, all right, prepare war, all right. And this is what you're starting to see. Well, let me read the next verse first. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares and the swords and your pruning hooks and the spears, let the weak say I am strong. So when you go into this, you see a lot of these different nations starting to develop their weaponry and things like that. Instead of focusing on infrastructure, updating their systems of so-called these things and those things or whatever, whatnot, and trying to, get, updated into the future of certain things. They're developing weapons or buying weapons from certain nations and things like that. All right, they're all preparing for war, But nevertheless, this is all according to the prophecies of the Lord, man. This is what's going to, be signs of the end all be all, You're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars as these things start bubbling up. World War III, it's not just like everything is all cool one day and, everybody all get drunk. Y'all eating, everybody get drunk and somebody make a joke and then the other drunk person don't take that joke so kindly and he get all serious about it and like, what? And flip the table over and then all of a sudden it's World War III, Like 10 minutes ago, everything was cool. Now all of a sudden we just killing each other now. No, it's not going to be like that, man. This is a long, drawn-out scenario. I was watching a video last night on, basically, like the scripture say, the beast shall hate the whore, but they was talking about, these different trade deals like we were going into with Germany and the Nord Stream 2 pipeline because they're one, basically all of Europe, they're a recipient of this here oil that Russia's trying to send over there and things like that, but America's putting sanctions on them, making them, pay higher for oil and higher for oil, the prices, and you're getting a less quality of it, But nevertheless, hey man, these are all the things, the strings that are being pulled to set this up for the perfect in play, more or less to say, So it says, let me go back to verse 10. It says, beat your plowshares and the swords and your pruning hooks into spears, let the weak say I'm strong. So now you're starting to have a lot of these different nations or whatever, whatnot now, like for instance, Turkey getting the S-400, hey, they was out there hitting Venezuela pretty damn hard, they was you don't even really hear about Venezuela in the news no more heavily like that, which they still over there. They still doing the same shit over there, but nevertheless, they don't have it to the fact of where they had it like beforehand, because they wound up, I believe, getting the S-300 put out there. Same thing happened in Syria, they was out there, so-called, ISIS is going over there, blah, blah, blah. Bashar al-Assad with his chemical attacks and all these lies and rhetoric and so on and so forth. All Russia had to do was go over there and put an S-300 over there or S-400 over there. And then it was like, yep, war's over. No more ISIS, That solves the whole problem, But nevertheless, all these things is making America reposition and come out with new things and so on and so forth. You got Donald Trump talking shit about NATO and everything like that, which is putting all these people at odds with each other, which is all strengthening up the tensions for what? World War III, all right? Verse 11, it says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen. All right, so all these nations are going to be gathered. This is going into what? World War III. All right, this is what you constitute in a world war, Not necessarily every single nation on the face of the earth is, like in World War I and World War II, it wasn't necessarily every single nation on the earth was fighting, one side versus the other side, but you had a bunch of different wars between these different nations going on and so forth. And they were basically all at war at the same time, Then you had different allies and pacts that was going to war with situations and so on and so forth, But nevertheless, it says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. So, hey, ultimately in this as well, you're gonna have the angels come down in the midst of World War III. You know, like the scriptures say. How does it say? Let me just grab it. Was it Revelation chapter 12? I want to say Revelation 12 and 7, and there was a war in heaven. All right, now this isn't talking about the devil and God is fighting or whatever whatnot, and the devil was cast out of heaven. And now no, this ain't talking about that. All right, it says there was a war in heaven. Now, when you go outside and you look up in the sky and you see them birds flying and airplanes and the clouds, that's what it's talking about when it's talking about this heaven. All right, there's multiple different heavens. All right, you got the heavens like I'm explaining now, where the birds and the planes fly. All right, you got the heavens like space. All right, you got the spiritual realm. All right, where the Most High is at, where when you die, all souls go to that place. All right, then you have a condition like Esau is in his heaven, while we out here in our hell right now, man. All right, but this here particular heaven is, like I said, go outside and look up in the sky. Those birds and those planes that you see, that's this heaven that it's talking about. All right, so there was a war in heaven. All right, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. So when the Lord comes back, all right, you're going to have Michael the archangel and the other angels in the chariots fighting against who? Against the dragon. Now, the dragon is talking about Esau. All right, it says, and the dragon fought and his angels. Now you have what they call, what is that? The Air Force. I think it's the Air Force. One of them is either the Air Force or the Army. They have like a wing division called, I think, the Blue Angels or something like that. But nevertheless, this is basically talking about their fighter jets and things like that, man. All right, there was a war in heaven. There was because John, they didn't really have airplanes and stuff like that flying around. Like, oh, well, they had their fighter jets up there. They was fighting. It was a dog fight or whatever, whatnot. No, they didn't explain it like that. All right. So it says there was a war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought, and the dragon fought and his angels, and they prevailed not. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. All right. Again, not talking about the spiritual demon Satan fighting with the Most High and getting kicked out of heaven. No, this is talking about Esau and his rulership when the Lord comes back to conquer. All right, and take the crowns off the heads of these kings, man. Take them out of their position of ruling the earth, man. Because right now, like Job 9:24 say, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. But now the Lord is, in the scripture also say, Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. All right, so how is that going to transition? All right, because the scripture also say who's going to be scattered into the four corners of the earth. All right, who's going to be sold to our enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you or redeem you. Nobody's going to get you out of this here situation. This is why the Martin Luther Kings, the Marcus Garveys, the Malcolm X's, all these different situations never worked out for us. Because why? The Lord, Yahweh Shah, had to come and take us up out of this captivity, man. All right. So it says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels was cast out with them. Now, just briefly touching back on Job 9:24, all right, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked, and what did he do? He deceived the whole earth, making them believe that he was righteous and so on and so forth, and such a saint. But really, this was the devil, the one who was given the power to take peace from the earth, all right? But ultimately, he's going to wind up crashing out in World War III, all right? Now, let's get back to Joel chapter 3, and verse 11 again. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, which means, Yahweh's judgment. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So the Lord is gathering them all up at the same time, all right? And he's going to just basically annihilate them all over there, all right? In the midst of World War III, man, all right? Basically all the militaries, for the most part, is going to all get destroyed over there, There are some scriptures saying how after, the end of World War III and everything like that, and, the elect come back down with these spiritual bodies and things like that, they're going to go and find the rest of these weapons and they're going to burn them with fire. All right. But nevertheless, this is going to be the end all be all for war that there's going to be, because like I said, like the scripture say, you're going to have World War III. In the midst of World War III, the Lord is going to come in the middle of it as we read it now. All right. And then that's when the chariots, like the scripture also say, one realm shall fight against another. All right. Verse 12, let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, for there will I sit and judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle. All right, so this is one of the major points I want to get at as well. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, and their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. All right, so hey, going into this, well, let me read the next verse. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Going into when those oh man, let me read the next one as well too. Verse 16, uh and Yahweh shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and earth shall shake, but Yahweh will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. Again, going into the nuclear destruction and things like that. The whole earth going real to and fro when all these nukes come down. All right, but nevertheless, going back to 14, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. So again, the Lord is about to have a mass annihilation out here and basically the Middle East, man. All right, this is where it's going to all go down at, man. This is why the Lord is bringing all these nations over there and so on and so forth. You see World War III bubbling up till it gets to a point of like, you know what, I'm tired of this, man. It's like being in a relationship. You and your old lady, y'all been together a couple months. You know what I'm saying? Then you start seeing little signs or little things here and there. Maybe well, let's put it the other way around. The woman is thinking this, this nigga don't ever take out the trash. He forgot to take out the trash again. He forgot to do this. At first it's something minor, but then, after time goes by, all these little small things build up to a big thing. And then one day y'all have a huge argument and just break out over the color shirt that somebody wearing or whatever, whatnot. And then now you hear the whole thing. You don't never take out the trash. You don't never buy me nothing. You don't never go nowhere with me. You don't never do this. And everything just boils out. But see, all that didn't just come up all one day. Y'all was arguing over the color of this here shirt, but everything else that was piled on from beforehand, all right, is now coming out. And this is what you see happening right now over the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, all right, over NATO basically being forced to keep spending more and more money when they're not reaping none of the benefits from these things, all right? And NATO was formed as a threat to stop, any of these, like the USSR, you know what I'm saying, from basically conquering communists and so quote-unquote communists conquering the world and everything. But since the USSR fell, and the whole purpose of NATO was to prevent that from happening. But once the USSR fell, there was no need for NATO, but they continued on with NATO, so on and so forth. So it's just, there's no benefit for no other country but for America, because America now has all these forward bases. For one, they have military bases in all these different countries to begin with, whether they're NATO members or non-NATO members. America has their own bases over there. There's more than like 800 military bases outside of America that America owns themselves. Then you have all the different NATO bases that's around the world. I think it's like, I don't know, it's a whole lot of them bases. It's like damn near, I think 900 of those. All right, then you got these so-called black site bases and the gray site bases. They don't really let you know exactly where they are. So there's like over 1,000 something bases, well over 1,000 bases out there where America can wage war from. And we're not talking about none of the bases that's here in America. So for instance, all the war is going to take place on that side. So America needs all these forward positions over there. All right, but nevertheless, it's starting to break their friends down. They can't stand all this no more, the rhetoric and so on and so forth. And they live over there with these neighbors. It's like, bro, every time you come over here, it's like a homeboy or whatever, whatnot. You got to live next door to your neighbors, but your homeboy always come over to the house, beating with his 215s in the trunk, sitting in the driveway, just boom, 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 12:30 at night. Then what? The neighbors ain't going to come out and say nothing to him. They're going to come and knock on your door. Bro, what's up with the dude be coming by with the music all loud all the time, bro? We can't sleep. You waking up the whole house, the baby. And so, like, bro, you causing us to have problems, so maybe I got to either tell you about your loud music or whatever, whatnot, and if you want to buck up against that, then maybe we can't chill no more, But because, you bringing this disturbance over here, it's causing me problems where I dwell at, and this is basically what's going on with these other nations, It says, let me go from there. Let me go back one. Where's it at? Joel 2:20 says, I will remove far off from you the northern army, which is talking about the American military. All right, this is why they're being brought over into the Middle East. Like I was saying, 2001 after 9/11, they started moving a lot of their heavy artillery over there, man. All right, all their weapons was moved over to that forward position. You started seeing basically America expand more of its bases, basically going in and, how they say, invading these nations, but they didn't necessarily invade them, at the gunpoint or whatever, whatnot. Problem, reaction, solution. They created so-called terrorists. Say, we can fix your problem, but just let us build a military base over here and to keep you safe, i.e. while they're still in Iraq. They went over there and blew them up and said they had these issues and everything like that. But to keep y'all safe, we got to stay over here and we got to make sure that they don't come back, But continuing on, verse 20 again, it says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, all right, with his face, going over into like Saudi Arabia, with his face towards the east sea and his hindermost part, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. All right, so hey, going into these things, once they go over into the Middle East and everything like that, man, it's gonna be end all be all for them, Let me grab this since I'm over here. Second Esdras. Second Ezra, let me start at verse 32, 16 and 32. And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel through therethrough. The virgins, all right, these women, shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers, And ultimately, some of these women, they ain't going to be mourning at all, because they ass going to be over there too, They're going to need more and more troops. So they allow more and more women into the military. They allowing any and everybody over there, because it's going to be a multitudes in the valley of decision, They're just going over there to get buried in what they call the sands of time, man. Are they going to become a part of that land, to fertilize that land and make it clean again, So it says, verse 34, in the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. All right. So, hey, if they don't sit out there, go out to the Middle East and die of gunshot wounds, afflictions, bombs, or whatever, whatnot, man, they might get separated from their convoy or whatever, whatnot, wind up starving to death, man. All right. So one way or another, man, they get deployed over there to the Middle East. They not coming back, man. And even if you got a so-called cush job over here, because Jake like to say, oh, no, we'll join the military for the sign-on bonus and all these different perks, but we want a little lame job to where we ain't gonna never be seeing no battle or nothing like that. I want to be a paper pusher or a mechanic or something like that. Some shit that don't ever see war or nothing like that. But nevertheless, hey man, once these people start, like in what was it, World War II, World War I or World War II, they was experimenting with these newer weapons and things like that. And once they like what was that, Normandy? All right, when it was coming up on the beaches of Normandy and things like that, man, you watch some footage and things, but man, people was getting chopped down coming up off them U-boats, man. But guess what? This was the first wave, and guess what? These was all the trained military men and people that's been in there, veterans and everything like that. But they was getting mowed down day by day, and then they started drafting people in. Or they just needed bodies and things. So what? You got rid of all your experienced people, and now you got just all these other people. They just need to fill these military boots with, man. All right. So what? They're gonna start drafting more and more people to send them over there. But what? They're gonna all be buried in the sands of time over there, man. All right. Let me close with this right here in Revelation. All right. What is it? Revelation 11. It's not 11 and 11. Oh, 11 and 12. Revelation 11 and 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up into the heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Now, briefly touching on this, because they talk about, whether it's a pre-trib or post-tribulation rapture or whatever, whatnot. Hey, man, like Job say, man, you're going to go through all these, you're going to go through the tribulation, man. You're going to go, through 6 woes, but you're going to be delivered in the 7th. All right. And this is what it's talking about, because basically we already going through these woes right now, or these different, how you want to call it, stages of this here destruction right now as we live right now. If you can hear this video, you going through this shit right now. Nobody's been delivered right now. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, right before those nukes come down, that's when the Lord is going to beam up his elect. All right. And the same hour was there a great earthquake. All right. And the reason it was a great earthquake, like the scriptures say, that the earth is going to reel to and fro. So that's when those missiles start touching down. I was watching something last night about when they tested the Tsar Bomba, which was the world's biggest nuclear bomb that was ever detonated, in which I think they kind of lie about that, because I think what I was watching, they were saying, because they just released some footage about it and declassified a lot of the information about it, as they was going into the 70th year of their anniversary or whatever, whatnot, or something like that. But nevertheless, they were saying basically they designed the bomb to be 100 megatons or 150 megatons or something like that, which was the biggest one on that anybody's ever made or anything like that. But nevertheless, because of the size of it and the weight of it, all right, like they got those big I forgot what them things are called, those big ass bomber planes that they got. Russia still had these same ass old ass planes that they used, but nevertheless they had to modify it because the bomb wouldn't fit through the bomb bay doors, So basically they just cut the bomb bay doors off, and you have half the damn missile or the bomb hanging out the bottom of the damn plane. All right, and they couldn't, the plane's too slow. It ain't gonna really work out for them, so they had to take out some of the weight, I believe, and they only really detonated a 50 megaton bomb, which is still one of the biggest detonation there's ever been. But they scaled it to be a either 100 or 150 megaton bomb. But nevertheless, in this one bomb that they detonated, they said that around the whole globe, it registered as a 5.0 on the Richter scale. All right, now if you understand, I believe that the Richter scale goes up to either like somewhere in the 7s or an 8. 8 may be the highest. I'm not even sure if it goes up to an 8, but nevertheless, 7 is at the top. So you can imagine a 5 is damn near deadly as hell. I forgot what it was that hit California back in the days, but nevertheless, Think about the amount of force this thing has to have, you know, put out for you to feel a 5.0 on the Richter scale throughout the whole entire globe from one bomb being tested. Now imagine when all the bombs go off, man. All right, if this one bomb itself that was detonated could make the whole earth feel an earthquake of a 5 on a Richter scale, imagine all of them going off. All right, so it says in that same hour there was a great earthquake. Going back up, talking about being beamed up, you know, when the nukes come down, that's when the elect is going to go up. Verse 13 again, in that same hour there was a great earthquake and the 10th part of the city fell. All right, you know, you have America's divided up into what, 10 FEMA regions or whatever, whatnot, you know, talking about America turning into that lake of fire. It says in the 10th part of the city fell, and an earthquake were slain of men 7,000, you know, a complete number, you know, because, hey, man, like I said, a 5.0 could do major damage to a metropolitan city and things like that. Skyscrapers, like imagine New York, everybody living in these skyscrapers and everything like that. You have a major earthquake, you know what I'm saying? Especially in a place that's not built to withstand earthquakes, you know, because like here in Florida, we got houses built for hurricanes, you know, but there's certain states that they'll never see no hurricanes, so they don't build them up to those standards and be able to uphold those types of winds. Same like here in Florida, we don't normally have earthquakes, so our buildings ain't really constructed for that. So if we have an earthquake here, these buildings ain't designed to sway and take all this shock or whatever, whatnot, so they're gonna wind up collapsing, man. All right. Verse 14, the second woe passed, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Now going into what? These woes, all right, destruction, all right. At this point in time, it says the second woe passed, and that's the times we living in now. There's already been 2 world wars, all right, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. I forgot exactly what time it was. It was like early 1900s when they had the First World War, you know. And the Second World War was like not that long after. It was like what, around 1939 or something like that, around in that little area, you know, like 39 or whatever, whatnot, 39, 40. It was around those times. So it wasn't that much time in between. All right. But now here we go again. You got basically World War III on bubbling over, man. Now, all right. And I believe it's just past what 70-year mark. All right. What like scriptures like to use 7 or 70s as a complete number, you know. So it says the second woe passed, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. All right. So let me just finish this off actually. 15. And the 7th angel sounded, and there was a great voice in heaven saying, the kingdoms of the world become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Messiah, you know, Hamashiach, and he shall reign forever and ever, you know. So going into that, this is when the Lord is going to come and reign ultimately. Like I said, lining up in the midst of World War III, when the Lord is going to come back and deliver up the children of Israel, or the elect of the children of Israel, all right. And he's going to take the crowns off the heads of these kings, and what? The midst of World War III, he's going to bury them all over in the sands of time, man. All right, so Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying into the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you. I can push in truth and sincerity in the 4 corners of the earth, and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.